Let's try an experiment. Look at your phone screen time right now. More specifically, look at what happens after midnight. The mindless scrolling, the endless loop of short videos. You tell yourself you're just looking for a distraction, a way to make your eyes tired so you can finally fall asleep. But the sleep never comes. Instead, you're left with a heavy, unexplainable restlessness, an anxiety that only exists at 2 a.m. In the modern world, we treat insomnia like a medical malfunction. We blame our coffee, our stress, our brains. We buy supplements. We turn on dark mode, and we treat the night like an empty, dead space that we desperately need to fast forward through. But what if I told you that your inability to sleep in a perfectly dark room isn't a glitch? What if your body is actually functioning perfectly, but it's reacting to a massive historical loss that you don't even know occurred? For over 1,000 years across the Indonesian archipelago, our ancestors didn't look at the night as a gap between two working days. They didn't fear the midnight waking hour. They designed an entire civilization around it. They built a system where the community would gather in the pitch black, light a single fire, and surrender their collective minds to an 8-hour psychological ritual. We call it Wayang Kulit. Today, we treat it like a traditional dance, a relic for tourists, or a boring school history lesson. But it wasn't a show. It was a highly advanced, spiritually engineered technology designed to heal the human subconscious in the dark. And when we traded that ritual for a simple light switch, we didn't just illuminate our rooms. We broke an ancient psychological biological clock. We orphaned our midnight minds out to understand how this happened and why you are lying awake tonight. We have to travel back to an era where the night was truly absolute. Welcome to the lost psychology of the Indonesian night. Imagine an Indonesian landscape entirely untouched by concrete and wires. A world where nature dictated every single breath you took. In ancient Javanese and Balinese philosophy, the sunset wasn't just a beautiful view. It was a dangerous, metaphysical boundary line called Surya Kal. The word Kal means time, but it also means destruction. It was the exact moment where the physical world passed the keys of reality over to the unseen world. Children were dragged inside. Open windows were shuttered. The outside world became a vacuum of absolute and compromising darkness. You have to realize modern humans almost never experience true darkness. Our cities are always bleeding light. But to our ancestors, the dark was a physical weight. If you stepped outside your village without a torch, you couldn't see your own hand. You were vulnerable to predators, to accidents, and to the psychological weight of your own thoughts. But instead of hiding from this terror individually in their homes, the community did something revolutionary. They congregated right in the center of the dark. They hung the Blencong. This wasn't just an ordinary lantern. It was the emotional heartbeat of the entire village for the next 9 hours. Pay attention to this distinction. A modern light bulb provides a constant, flat stream of photons. It tells your brain, it is daytime. Wake up. But the Blencong burned coconut oil and cast an organic, flickering light. Because the flame was constantly moving, the shadows it cast were never static. When you look at a flickering flame in a pitch-black room, your brain waves naturally begin to slow down. Your pupils dilate, and your mind enters a trance state. Our ancestors weren't just watching a puppet show. Their brains were being actively retuned by fire. They were entering a shared neurological frequency. The Dalang would strike the wooden chest. The gamelan would strike its first chord. And the village would begin its long journey through the human subconscious, a journey that was explicitly structured to mirror the biological architecture of your sleep cycle. Take a long, deep breath. Let the silence hang in the air for a moment like the echoing ring of a grand bronze gong. A traditional Wayang performance is broken into 3 rigid time periods, called pathet. Each pathet corresponds to a different depth of human consciousness. The first phase is pathet nam, running from 9 p.m. until midnight. This part of the story is always about worldly matters. It's about kingdoms, political rivalries, egos, and external conflicts. This represents your normal, waking ego. It's the part of your brain that worries about your bills, your social status, your reputation, and your daily arguments. But at midnight, everything shifts. Welcome to Pathet Sangha. The outside world is now completely silent. The ambient temperature drops. The village is enveloped in the deepest part of the night. This is when the Goro Goro happens. The clowns enter the screen. They mock the kings, they crack jokes, and they make the entire community laugh together in the dark. This laughter is crucial. It releases the physical and emotional tension built up during the day. It relaxes the nervous system, preparing the mind to drop even deeper. Once the tension is broken, Pathet Sangha dives into the abyss. From midnight to 3 o'clock a.m., the story focuses entirely on internal, spiritual crises. By this hour, an extraordinary psychological phenomenon occurs. The Javanese call it Antara Tidur dan Terjaga, the thin, sacred space between sleeping and waking. Half the audience is fast asleep. The other half is in a deep, waking trance. But even those who are sleeping are still participating. The heavy, low-frequency acoustic vibrations of the bronze gamelan wash over their sleeping bodies. The deep philosophical monologues of the Dalang drift into their ears. Our ancestors recognized that the human mind is highly receptive when it's relaxed. They were bypassing the critical, defensive daytime ego and planting lessons of moral balance, emotional regulation, and cosmic surrender directly into the subconscious mind. Finally, as the night begins to break, the ritual enters its final act. Pathet Manura. Manura is the ancient word for the peacock, the grand bird that wakes up early to sing and welcome the rising sun. The great battles of the night are finally resolved. Justice is served. Balance is restored to the cosmos. The rapid, joyful music wakes the sleeping audience members up naturally. No alarms, no sudden shocks to the nervous system. They open their eyes just as the actual sun rises over the horizon. They pack up their mats, look at their neighbors, and smile. They didn't just watch a performance. Together, as a tribe, they had walked through the dark abyss of human nature, resolved their psychological shadows, and stepped into the morning completely reborn. They had a system for the night, but we destroyed it. In the late 19th century, colonialism brought a new kind of power to Indonesia, modern infrastructure. Gas lamps were built in Batavia. Electricity grids soon followed. We flooded our nights with light. We celebrated it as absolute progress. We pushed the darkness back into the forests, thinking we had won a war against fear. But your biology doesn't care about modern progress. For 300,000 years, human evolution programmed your eyes to recognize only two things: the sun and fire. When the blue wavelengths from your phone or your bright room LED hits your retina at 11 p.m., your brain doesn't know it's a lamp. It thinks it is the noon sun. It immediately halts the production of melatonin, the hormone that repairs your cells and prepares your mind for sleep. So you wake up at 2 o'clock a.m. Your sleep is fragmented. Your body wants to enter that ancient, natural midnight waking window, the phase of quiet reflection. But instead of sitting in the peaceful, meditative darkness, you panic. You panic because you think you have a disorder. You reach for your phone, flood your brain with dopamine, and ruin the cycle completely. Look at the profound tragedy of this contrast. Our ancestors spent the midnight hours connected to their community, processing their souls through art and fire. We spend our midnight hours completely isolated, consuming algorithmic content designed to keep us angry, insecure, and consumers. We traded the sacred, collective dream therapy of the Wayang for a sterile, lonely light switch. And we never even paused to ask what we were losing along the way. So, let's bring it back to you. Right here, right now. The next time you find yourself wide awake in the dead of night, don't fight it. Don't let the frustration consume you. And please, don't reach for that phone. Just sit there in the quiet. Listen to the hum of the night. Let your mind wander into that meditative, peaceful state that your body was designed to experience. Because your insomnia isn't a disease. It is a rebellion. It is your biology rejecting the artificial world we built. It is your DNA remembering who you actually are. Your body isn't broken. It's just waiting. It's waiting for the community that we lost. It's listening for the ancient frequencies that used to keep us safe. You are a child of Nusantara. Your ancestors spent 300,000 years navigating the dark with grace, with fire, and with stories. So lie back down. Close your eyes. Trust the night. The fire is lit, and your story is finally ready to begin. Now I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever found yourself awake in the middle of the night, feeling that strange restlessness? And do you think we've lost something important by replacing stories, community, and fire with screens and artificial light? If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Together, We explored a forgotten journey from modern insomnia and midnight scrolling to ancient firelit gatherings, Wayang Kulit, and the wisdom of the Indonesian night. A reminder that darkness was once a place of connection, healing, and meaning. Thank you for watching. Remember, our ancestors spent countless generations navigating the dark with stories, community, and fire, so the next time you find yourself awake at 2 a.m., don't be afraid of the night. Trust the quiet. Trust the process. The fire is lit, and your story is ready to begin.